the general fund. Sometimes we are allowed to take out, if we need to, we are allowed to pay maintenance salaries and benefits out of the capital fund. They've done that, probably maybe 3 or 4 years now, they've allowed us to do that. But so general fund, supplemental fund is our LOB fund, which is the money we get from taxes. And
So maybe it's my power button, or maybe I'm not doing something right, because it won't come on.
It's not coming. Hold it down.
Yeah, it's done that. but-
I thought you were dead.
Dead.
That's the way Anderson talked about it.
I'm not dead yet.
Okay.
Well, that's
I
interesting.
may be before the night's over, but I'm not dead yet.
Anderson probably hoping somebody will go before him, so.
I may not be able to talk.
Okay.
Excuse me. That might be a blessing too.
Just look at it and see if we can't get.
Oh, no, okay, so now something's
Water.
happening, so, okay, let me see.
And if there's something less drinking, I'll stop it.
That's Dr. Pepper, that belongs to Russell.
Well, I have to share it.
She says she wants to start cover two, you know, that's two votes here
Oh,
already,
man.
so you better pay attention.
Just say Dr. Pepper. refrigerator.
Yeah. It's obviously popular, because there wasn't much in there, and was hidden, so.
Maybe I had one plugged in upside down, that's what.
Did you get it on, Judy?
Yes, I don't know what happened, it finally came on.
We're not.
This is,
January folder won't even know. I don't understand, like, I even came early to try to get it figured out, but I guess maybe you're in. Yeah. Okay, must be, sorry.
it won't go on past there.
How did you just get in there?
Where's
I did.
January at?
That's what I did too. Okay,
I think your end is done.
Maine?
There you go.
all right, thank you. It doesn't let me today. Hit that extra thing.
Call the meeting to order, entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So move.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor? First item, election of officers. What's your pleasure on president, vice president?
I would move to have Russell King as chairman and Lori Peterson as vice chair.
Not using the right language. Should be chair, but they got all the presiding talk here, so.
Amend it to say president and vice
President.
president.
I'll amend the president and vice president, Mr. King.
Okay.
Mr. President, I think.
Mr. President.
Not yet. Is there any
Real stickler.
other discussion or input?
Need a second on that.
I would second that.
Any other discussion or input? All those in favor? Very good. No patrons here.
Go see before we.
Are you gonna move over to the middle?
Yeah, we'll switch them around.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
I've been in the seat for 14 years.
Okay, I'll leave you there.
Leave me here. I can eyeball everybody. You're a lot better.
I can make another motion.
I make a
Which is
motion, he
what?
moves to the center,
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
because that's where you're supposed to be.
yeah.
Skip that then.
Unless somebody wants to talk about somebody else.
We'll hold off on the tardy session there. Take time to look at the consensus items. We're low on the balance here. Is there any prospect that was going broke before the next board meeting?
Not that fast.
Okay.
No, we're in good shape. We just haven't gotten payments yet.
I'm going to approve the consensus items as presented. Second.
Second, we have motion, second, all those in favor? Very good. Reports on special ed, I have nothing for this evening. For it's Tom on government relations.
No, I don't have anything.
Nothing there. That's all right, unless there's questions, we'll move on to Mr. Flax.
Just a few things, actually. I don't really have a whole lot. Invite all of you as board members Wednesday night, Rust Huddle with the Stop Trafficking program. We'll be doing the adult and community parent, community member presentation at 6:30 in the auditorium. Mr. Reinhardt may have more information that he'll share with his report on that, but that's just invite you guys to that this Wednesday evening, and then on Thursday he'll be doing the student presentations. I know 7 junior senior high presentation will be in the afternoon at 1:30. We sent opt-out forms home to parents, anybody that did not want them to, and at this point I haven't received any back yet. So anyway, just pretty high reviews for this, and like for charge to get this national known speaker out. He was in Hayes earlier this year, and I know got a little bit of publicity from the Hayes Post, Hayes Daily News, whatever it's called now. And so anyway, that's this week, Wednesday and Thursday, and the adult ones Wednesday night at 6:30. You know, the weather's played a little bit of havoc on activities. We've been able to pretty much get everything rescheduled minus one junior high basketball game is really the only thing that we've lost at the game at Quinter. We just with the tournament that we're hosting this starting this Saturday, we'll host it this Saturday, next Monday, and next Thursday. It was just we couldn't get it in before that. It would have to either be during that week or even after that week, but that was the only one that we really couldn't get in. But it's going to be really hectic. Tonight's the first. Exactly 2 weeks from today, I think we're going to host 8 basketball dates. host tonight, we'll host tomorrow night, we'll host Thursday night, we'll host Saturday, we'll host the following Monday, we'll host Thursday, we'll host the following Monday. Oh, maybe that's only 7, but I don't know. I just know weather's playing hectic. I'm trying to get everything in, but I think hopefully we will, and hopefully it'll turn out. I don't really, looking at this, Scholars Bowl season, I know we get lost in sometimes in the sports season, I know they're competing today. Their regional Scholars Bowl will be next Thursday, February 1st. They've had a pretty nice season there. Hopefully they can get the right draw and stuff like that. And when that comes down on the Scholars Bowl. Looking to make sure I'm not really missing anything that. See ya. That's what I really just checking out everything that's going to be on the agenda later on or something like that. But, I guess I'll just stop it at that. What's your questions for me?
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Fries? You, Mr. Reinhardt.
We continue to have issues with our HVAC. High school boiler here right before things got really cold. One of the tubes split in it. We're losing a little bit over a gallon of water an hour. By the time they got here to fix it, it was quite a bit worse than that. That was the Thursday before it got cold, or the Tuesday before it got cold. Got them out here overnight. We have to shut down the boiler to fix that. Luckily, we had extra tubes from when they retubed portions of it here beginning the school year, but put a new tube in to replace that to stop it from leaking. And then here late last week, the brain on it died. Luckily, we had 2 boilers, one that we're using as a parts machine because they couldn't find a brain, but we were able to take that brain and put it on the other boiler to get it up and running at the high school. But now we're having some issues with some freezing pipes in the boiler room because we are just running the one boiler. Just those really cold days really affect that. But we're fighting that. On top of that, the gator's getting old. We nursing the snow blade on it for quite a while. Ended up getting to the point where it no longer works, so we ordered another one of those. Hopefully it'll be here before it snows again. But we're spending money on things to keep them up and running as we move along with stuff. You'll see on the chart, we have our winter data up from everything. The colors from the winter data actually mean something now. So you notice the bottom row on each one of those assessments, you've got 3 different assessments. You've got our FastBridge assessment, which is a reading assessment, and then a math assessment, and then you have the iReady math assessment that is tied to our K-8 math curriculum resource. So blue dots on those bottom rows under each assessment is a kid that grew from first semester or from the beginning of the school year assessment to winter assessment. Red dot is a student whose score went down. Green dot is a student that not only grew, but grew enough to move into the next level. So you've got a level 1, which is your bottom end kid, a level 2, which is just below grade level, level 3, which is on grade level, and level 4, which is above grade level. You've got yellow kids who fell or dropped a little bit, but stayed within the level that they were in. You have purple kids who did not, one of 2 things, they either did not change, so their score was within 1 point or above or below what their score was in the fall. And then, or it was a kid that was brand new, so we don't have a fall score. They've moved in the school district since we did our fall assessments. So we spent a good portion of Monday with the staff going through this. They charted their own data, had conversations about the data and where the kids are and where they're scoring. And then any kid that was a red or was a level 1 or level 2 they started charting any observations of that kid of why that kid may be scoring low. Maybe that kid's on an IEP and has a learning disability and is going to struggle academically. Maybe that kid has some family issues that we're aware of. Maybe that kid has missed a lot of school. Maybe that kid isn't working real hard in class. Or maybe we haven't found a way to reach that kid yet. Maybe we haven't tried everything. We don't have enough interventions, or we don't have any interventions in place for that particular child. And then with those kids, they also were required to start writing down what interventions they're putting in place, what interventions they currently have in place, and then any interventions they think we need to put in place. And that was a part of that conversation of what as a district, as in buildings, what is it that we need to do to make sure our kids are achieving where they need to be, as part of our building needs assessments, so that we can better allocate funds along those lines too. What resources do we need to make sure our kids are academically moving in the direction they need to move? So it gives you a little bit better breakdown of that information. You can also see a lot of that information. I put it in the folder so you have it digitally, but you've also got a paper copy here. That top page gives you a overall view of the district and where we're going. A couple things to notate. If you look at that top chart, that top bar chart, the local assessments district-wide average score, starting in the fall of 22 through this last winter assessment. The yellow is your already mapped. So that assessment is slightly different than the Fast Bridge. It is that assessment is grade level specific. As a second grader, this is what you're supposed to know by the time second grade ends. So beginning of the school year, that yellow bar is going to be lower, and we want to see it grow throughout the school year. So if you look at last school year, fall of 22 through the spring of 23, we progressively got bigger as far as an average score for across the district for K-8 iReady Math. And you'll see that as we came into this school year, that dropped down again because now we're taking the next grade level higher test. You haven't been taught all that stuff. And then throughout the course of the year, that should grow. One of the things we definitely want to see in that is our kids are going from one school year to the next, and we're seeing some growth. So that fall to fall score should see an increase like we're seeing there. And then as we go through the school year, we're seeing an increase in that. Fast Bridge scores are going to be slightly different because that score is based on where that kid should be right there in that time and place. So a fourth grader taking the Fast Bridge ELA or Fast Bridge Math, what they should know that first day of school, based on national norms, is what they're tested on. Right? So throughout the course of time, we should see that steadily grow. Right? And you kind of see that. We've talked about how going from spring to fall, end of the school year to the beginning of the school year, and the summer slide type of issues we run into from kids doing very little academic work over the 3 months of the summer, what impact that has. We can also, as we look through some of this, talk about some of the impact the trauma our fourth grade class has gone through here at the end of the semester and what impact that may have had on their winter scores. We can talk about our sixth grade class and being a very large class, and what impact is that having on those scores and those averages. The sixth grade class is a prime example of a couple new kids moving in, and how a couple new kids that we don't have a fall score for, or we haven't worked with throughout the course of the school year so far, how those scores can drastically drop in average. I believe if you take a couple scores out from brand new kids, the growth in sixth grade jumps up 5 or 6 percentage points. But that kind of gives you an average as far as what the average score is on those. And then if we look at the percentage of students above grade level, and again, with Fast Bridge, we should see steady growth throughout the ages, throughout each testing assessment period. And then iReady Math, just like I explained before, you should see steady growth throughout the course of the year. You're going to drop from spring to fall because it's a whole new test, a whole new grade level of expectations, and then they should grow again. So that gives you an idea there. And then, yes, it's even hard for me to see this. But I didn't want a whole bunch of pages. If you want it bigger so you can see it, let me know and I can print it off bigger for you. But you've got this digital also. But this basically is what's on here minus the different colors in the dots. So it tells you the number of kids that scored in each area on that particular test. The first one is your Fast Bridge Math. The second one is your Fast Bridge Reading. And the third one is your iReady Math. It gives you the percentage of students below grade level. It gives you your average score, and how we figure that is if you're in the red group, your score is worth 1. If you're in the yellow group, your score is worth 2. If you're in the green group, your score is worth 3. And if you're in the blue group, your score is worth 4. We add those up, divide it by the number of kids, and that gives us our average score for that class. So one thing that we look at is, are we seeing growth in that particular classroom with that particular group of kids between testing sessions? And we've got some things that we need to look at and talk about there. As far as there's several that grew, a couple that didn't. Like I mentioned before, what impact does the trauma the fourth grade classes faced have on their test scores? And you see a pretty sizable drop in that average score from fall to winter.
So did that class not take the Fast Bridge Math test?
Yes, they took a portion of it. I believe Mrs. Fonda still is working on finishing it, and we'll get those scores in there. But I think she thought everything was taken, and apparently there's a piece that wasn't because their scores weren't showing up. So yeah. Yeah. But no, that's, yeah, we need to get those scores in there. Like I said, as of today, I don't think we've got it completely done, but that testing window is open, so she can go in and do that. But I think there is a piece that they didn't get completed, so we'll get that done. The other thing that I've added on here, as we look at that, is the number of students showing growth in the grade level, and then the number of students that moved up a level. So not only, ideally, when we look at this, all of our dots will be blue and green. That's what we want to see. We know that we're going to have kids that will struggle to get out of level 1 and struggle to get out of level 2. But as long as they're growing and moving in the right direction, that's ultimately what we want to see. We need to see more kids moving from one level to the next. So we want to see more kids moving out of level 1 and into level 2, more kids moving from level 2 into level 3 and level 3 into level 4. So we want to see more green dots. So that's a conversation we've had with the staff. And then again, like I said, we should have, ultimately, we'd like to see 100% of our kids blue and green. This is a one shot, kids having a bad day, struggling on a particular day, you're going to end up with some reds and yellows and purples. But we want to minimize that. And then we also need to recognize why is that kid there? And then what are we putting in place to make sure that kid moves out of that area, moves out of being a red, yellow, or a purple. That's a quick overview of our winter assessments and where we're going. Overall, we're seeing growth. We're moving kids in the right direction. If you look at our percent of students above grade level on this last assessment, both of our Fast Bridge scores are over 60%. So we've definitely grown there and moving in the right direction. Along with this, our KISA meeting with the state is tomorrow. Amber Miller is our area representative from KSDE. She'll be out tomorrow. We'll be talking about a lot of this. We'll be talking a lot about our KISA plan and our goals, and getting input of what our next steps need to be as far as improving as a school district. Along with the assessment data, I also dropped in here a PowerPoint and I will try to keep you up to date of kind of what's going on in Topeka. You've got the governor's suggested budget as it applies to schools. If they follow Gannon, our base state aid is projected to be 5388, which is just right around $300 more per kid per this next year, which will definitely help move things in the right direction. We've talked in the past about how the state is not meeting their mandate for 92% funding of special ed excess costs. The governor recommends that we phase that extra cost in over 5 years, so that would help us out too. With that's recommended budget from the governor for schools. And then you've got several different laws, statutes that have been brought to the table for discussion in Topeka that could affect the school system. You've got a Senate bill there that requires any child and or allows individuals with revoked licenses to drive children to school or childcare. I don't know that necessarily applies to us, but it would apply to maybe parents getting their kids to school if they're on a revoked driver's license. The House Bill 2475 becomes very interesting. I don't know if it'll even have any legs, but would prohibit us from starting school year before Labor Day. I don't know if that means we push into the month of June for a school year or not, or if they'll say, no, you can't go that long either. And then we figure out how that works as far as school day length and teacher contract days also.
Who would be pushing that? Just like
I'm
Topeka?
not for sure.
Because farmers can't do that. I mean, because of harvest. The kids need to be out in, I would assume,
Right.
in May.
Right. And then traditionally, that's why,
And if you're not starting until September, then
and there are some school
I wonder if
districts
it's
that don't.
not a push to shorten the school year,
so from September to May instead of
Mhm.
like Labor Day to
August.
Memorial Day.
I would think that that's where it's got to come from, that we're not trying to push it into June, but we're trying to shorten the school year. I don't know how that changes the 11/16 hours or the number of days, and then how it affects the negotiated agreement contract days too. Whether they're trying to set statewide, this is what everybody's going to do, because there are some schools that don't start until after Labor Day and they're out in May. They go a little bit longer. They've got shorter contract day lengths for teachers and those type of things. So it's kind of interesting. I don't know if it'll go anywhere. That next one,
Do we go 3 days and then have Labor Day?
we go 2.5 weeks.
Oh,
And then
shit,
Labor
that's
Day.
a lot
Yeah.
shorter
well,
than.
like
Yeah.
the first part of August or the
Middle of
middle
August.
of August.
Yeah,
On
we
18th.
usually have 12 or 13
Oh, yeah,
days
Labor Day's
before Labor Day.
Yeah, yeah.
First
Oh, wow.
Monday in September.
Oh, that'd be a big deal.
It would have a drastic effect on how things are done here. The next one could get very expensive if we're required to hire a person specifically to deal with attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder. I don't
I don't
know.
think there's a lot of those kind of employees floating around. out
No.
there.
I don't. I think you're 100% right.
I think there's gonna be one person
Yeah.
in Wichita that's gonna service the state.
Uh-huh.
There's gonna be anyone to hire for that.
There is a lot of talk, and there are a lot of talk today specifically about how we're determining our FTE for the school year. It's always been an average of the last 3 years. And what they're proposing is getting rid of all of that, and you either count your current year. So those districts that are growing get a count every kid they have coming into the school district, or you count or you use the previous year. So if you're declining, you're not losing a bunch of FTE from one year to the next. You just keep using the previous year. This could have an effect on us. It would definitely right now, even though we've kind of leveled out on enrollment, and I'm kind of hoping we see a swing back up. This would affect budget a little bit for us. I don't know if you guys remember, but a lot of it dealt with the Central Plains School District, and then a school district in western and eastern Kansas, where they came in and closed down a school building, and there's an uproar. And basically, the legislature passed a law saying you can't sell that school building without the state being able to buy it first. Well, when they wrote the law, they weren't thinking. So the way the statute's currently written, it's basically any property owned by the school district. What they really meant was any attendance center, so any building being used as a school itself. So there's a lot of talk on making some changes to that. And a lot of it's just, in my opinion, a little bit of overreach over you guys who are making tough decisions at the local level in the small school districts. We've got to close this building down. It's no longer useful to us. It makes a community upset. And now the state's going to come in and overrule you as a local board and say, no, you can't close that building down, or no, you can't sell that to this person that's going to use it for something in the community because we're going to buy it as a state and do something with it. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I can't imagine the state wanting to buy up a bunch of schools, but the problem we're running into, or a lot of these school districts are running into, is they make a decision to close a building. They've got someone that wants to buy it, and now that person can't buy it because the state's got to give they've got their first right of refusal. Well, if the legislature isn't in session, they're not calling in the legislature to decide if they want to build a building or not, or buy a building or not. So it holds up that whole process. So you may have a buyer today that can't purchase the building for 6 months. So it throws a wrench in some of that. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. The House Bill 2494 has a lot to do with some issues with some kids having some cardiac arrest issues in the buildings, and those buildings not having AEDs and having safety plans in place to deal with those type of issues. I believe that we're in pretty good standing with that, so it doesn't concern me a whole lot unless they're going to tell us we have to buy a whole bunch of AEDs for the building because they can be rather expensive. But we've got a pretty good process in place to make sure those are all up to date and ready to go. And then there's several others. But I will try to get this stuff information out to you as we go through the legislative session, especially if there's one that is very concerning to me and the effect it'll have. If you want to keep track of it yourself, that is how you can do it. You've got that information in you can go to this slide and click on the links, and you can pull up what else is going on in there. But several different things going on in the legislature. We are having some issues with hiring paras, and a lot of it comes down to healthcare. And that is one thing that we need to see if we can't have some voice in. I think the more benefit package we can offer our special ed paras, the more likely we are to hire them. I feel we've got a really good one that we can get hired, but we can't offer healthcare. So I don't know, as far as conversations, whether we can convince 613 to start offering healthcare to their paras, but that is something we're facing there. And then, like Tom said, Russ Tuttle and the Human Trafficking Assembly is Wednesday night for parents. I would encourage you all to attend. I'd also encourage you all, as you talk to people throughout the community, to encourage them. I've heard very good things about it, and it is something our kids definitely deal with on a regular basis. And then Thursday morning, kindergarten through second grade, we'll have an assembly with Mr. Tuttle, and then we'll have a third through sixth grade and then 7 through 12. Sacred Heart sending all their kids, Dighton sending all their kids. We are helping Dighton out. They're paying our bus driver and fuel for us to run over and pick up their K2 kids because they're short a bus and a bus driver. So they couldn't get their K2 kids over, back, and get the third through sixth graders back. So we're going to send Gary over with our bus to pick up their K2 kids, help them out a little bit. Not for sure if we've heard anything from Jetmore sending kids. La Crosse is going to send their 6th through 8th grade kids, and I'm not for sure that we've heard anything from Western Plains. That's Thursday. Wednesday night for the parents from 6:30 to 8, and then Thursday morning for the kids.
If we don't take the Dayton kids back, do we get the FTEs on?
You know, maybe we can work that out. I'm sure they'll have a list of kids that they'd gladly give us.
Any questions for Mr. Reinhardt?
I'm just,
Yeah.
I tell you what, I know the one thing I meant to talk about in my report that I forgot about is, I just wanted to bring up, I had it note, but I didn't see it when I was talking, was I have not released the honor roll for the first semester, second 9 weeks yet. I've had an issue with Power School calculating it correctly. I think actually we got that problem solved today. I had about an hour and a half phone call with a tech from Power School, and we troubleshooted it finally. And it comes down to, there was an update to Power School that occurred first semester. And then due to that update, we added some plugins to do some other stuff that we do with Power School student management system, and unknowingly didn't realize that screwed up the GPA calculations. And so I do think that is corrected. I ran that this morning, was able to finally get that done, so that will be released. So if you're wondering or have heard, there's an honor roll for the first semester, there hasn't been yet. We'll get sent to the paper here this week and probably get printed next week. So, but just wanted, that was the other thing I meant to tell you there in the report.
Any more questions? I thought it was my understanding that with the Affordable Care Act under Obama, that the paras would be qualifying for healthcare.
So I'm not 100% for sure how 613 is getting away with it. I think a lot of it is because they specifically set up their contracts to be under 30 hours a week, even though they work more than that. Which if they're not working 30 hours, they're part-time, and part-time don't qualify.
So they do hold on.
Yes.
Okay.
And like I said, I think we would have a much better crop of special ed paras if we could offer healthcare. I don't know if there's a way for us, and I'm guessing that our healthcare, because they wouldn't be technically our employees, for us to offer those people healthcare through us. And so I don't think that's an option. I think it's going to have to be 613. But I think we'd have a much better luck at finding good special ed parents if we could figure out how to get them healthcare.
You brought up the HVAC problems. Is that with old equipment or with the stuff from the remodel?
No, this is old. This is the boiler.
This is the old stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Over at the high school.
Yeah, this is the high school boiler.
So is the grade school one been running fine?
Yes, we ran into some problems right after they did the repairs because they knocked enough rust and stuff loose that we started clogging up. I think we've gotten to a point where that's fixed. We had some computer issues with it. I think that's been fixed. I don't think we've had issues with heat in the elementary school. I know in the cold days like we've had since we put in that new system, especially the north classrooms in the high school, we've struggled with. And I know Tom sent out the email, but we had one day that was pretty chilly in the high school. But we got through that, and I think right now everything is working heat-wise in the buildings.
Okay, if we might move on then to board subcommittee.
Next meeting is scheduled for Thursday at 4. It's Lori, Judy, and Jason, right? Okay.
Where are we?
Would it be better to meet in the high school library since we've got games that night? So you could go
Run back
to the
and
gym
forth.
or run back and forth, or make
Do
sure
you
you're
have to
catching.
dribble a basketball? I went back and forth.
Yes, that would be fine.
Okay.
The high school library.
High school library, and I will send that email out. I will try to remember to text you 3 and let you know or remember.
Do you have a room that doesn't have glass? Like, can we go to a room that doesn't have glass
Yes,
windows.
we could do that. We could
I would
do-
rather not be in there with people in there.
Yeah, it's true. People walking around.
Yes,
we could-
That day.
can we grab one in the back?
We. Thursday. Is someone
Just
doing?
people gonna be gawking around, and
Yes.
people gonna be looking.
We built a conference room. What about that?
There is some
It's
big,
not big enough.
It's not big.
uh,
Can we just
Well-
use the special ed room over there? Because that's pretty big.
Yeah, I'm just not real sure how many chairs are in there. It may be better just to use one of the science classrooms.
Okay.
Yeah, we had, that room got room, doesn't it?
Yeah,
We had
but
some meetings
if
over
they're
there.
serving, if they're serving a meal, they'll be in and
Oh.
out using that.
Yeah.
That's where my thought was going.
I don't care where, but I'd just rather not do it
Let's just
and
plan
and be
on,
bothered.
let's plan on doing we'll use one of the science classrooms. There'll be plenty of room in there and a little more comfortable than sitting in a desk.
Okay.
Really good. If we move on then to unfinished business, facilities bond issue.
So it got wires crossed a little bit. I had you guys approve a request for CMAR, and that's not exactly what we need to do. We either need to hire a company, which would technically be the CMAR, to do a facility study, or we need to hire an architect as our next step. So I am not 100% for sure what the difference is, but by statute, we can't hire CMAR until we've decided to move forward with the bond issue and have hired an architect. So here's the big difference. Some of these companies will come in and do a facility study and give us dollar amounts and those type of things for free. Some of them will charge. My biggest problem with going straight to an architect is anything that we've talked about, the only thing we really need architect for is any new construction. And I hate to hire an architect and pay them a percentage of the entire project when we only get them for a portion of the project. That might be the best way to go, though, is just to hire an architect, because those architects, most of them will come in and do all this work free of charge unless the bond passes. Some of these construction management companies will charge to do a facility study. Some of them will do it free of charge with the hopes that you hire them as the CMAR. But if we're going to move forward with a bond issue, if we're going to move forward with getting a better idea of what we truly need to do, what truly needs to be fixed, and what it's truly going to cost, we need to do one of two things. We either need to hire or retain a construction management company to do a facility study, or we need to hire an architect.
And from what you're saying, you have no recommendation one way or the other.
My recommendation, it makes a lot more sense to me to hire a construction management company to do a facility study. Because what the architect's gonna do is they're gonna go to one of these construction management companies, bring them in. Well, what would it cost you to do this? And they're gonna build a price. They'll build a project, they'll put everything together for us, which is great and wonderful, but at the end of the day, they're also going to charge us for all that work if the bond issue passes. My only concern with going straight to a construction management company is there's a handful of them out there that are going to be really good, but they're going to charge you for that work. There's a handful out there that are really good that won't charge you for that work. So I want to be upfront honest when I say that, depending on how you want to do this, if we stick with kind of that plan with the CMAR where we have Russell and Tom and Neil Fontenstiel and Jan Ryder and Wes interview these people and bring to the whole board, this is who we recommend. They may bring someone to you that's going to tell you, yes, we'll do this, but it's going to cost you $3,000. It's going to cost you $5,000. They may bring to you a company that says, we'll do it completely free. And if you like them and they do a good job, the hope is that you hire them as the CMAR, and that's how they're going to make their money off of the time they spent doing that. I hate spending money on an architect when we may not decide or we may decide that none of the project that we do requires an architect, but because you go through that process, because you hired an architect to put all this together for you, then you're stuck paying them through that bond issue. And if we decide we're not doing major renovations to the gym so we can have handicap seating, and we're not building locker rooms, none of the rest of the projects that we have talked to up to this point require an architect. The HVAC, you're going to have the HVAC companies with an engineer, but that's going to be just that subset. You know, that engineer is going to charge us to do the engineer work for the HVAC work that we want done, not a percentage of the entire project. Most of these construction management companies have architects that they work hand in hand with and can bring them in on, we need a design on this, because the way statute works, specifically for schools, this isn't true of anything else. The construction management company cannot design build. So they can't design the project and then build the project. So they've got to bring in an architect to do the design, and then they can do the building piece of it. So I'm still stuck with, I think we're a lot better off right now hiring a construction management company, even if it costs us a little money to come in, go through everything, make sure we're not missing anything, put together a project idea for us, and then we can start deciding what it is we want to do and what it is we don't want to do. And if we decide there's a piece of that project we want to do that require an architect, then that we can hire an architect at that particular point in time.
Okay, you've heard you need an action from the board on this thing?
So we're not gonna have Russell and I and Neil and Jan and Wes interview anybody.
No, I would say that we still, to me, it makes a lot of sense to do that. So whether we decide, if the motion is to hire an architect, to put it out an RFP for an architect, then I still think it makes a lot of sense to have a subcommittee like that, interview all of them and bring their recommendation to the board as a whole. Because otherwise, I think we're gonna have to have several special board meetings to interview 5 or 6 architects. The same thing with construction management company. It's gonna be the exact same list of people that were CMARs. We bring them in, they give this Russell, Tom, Neil, Jan, Wes, their spiel, and then you bring the recommendation to the whole board instead of having several special board meetings, if that makes sense.
What did you approve last time?
So last time we approved an RFP for CMAR, okay, with a subcommittee to bring a recommendation out of those that applied to be our CMAR that turned in an RFP to make the recommendation to the board. So a similar motion would be either to put out an RFP for a construction management facility study with the subgroup to make a recommendation to the board as a whole, or an RFP for an architect with a subcommittee to make a recommendation to the board as a whole. Would be my recommendations, one of those two.
So nothing was ever published or put out there after.
Now, I put it all out there.
approved, And did you get any response? to
Yes,
it?
yeah, and we've got, I think there's 5 or 6 construction management companies that are ready to jump on this and work with us and help us and move forward. I sent it out and then got some feedback from some people.
Sorry, just so I got that right, construction management companies are what responded thus far.
Yes.
Okay.
So that would be your
Right.
CMAR.
Right.
So where I got my wires crossed was I was thinking facility study. What I was getting back from information from the state and from other superintendents was, well, you need to hire a CMAR. Well, by statute, you have to hire an architect. Architect puts together a plan, and then you hire that CMAR to oversee your project and get your subcontractors and do your contract work and those type of things. So as I sent questions out, trying to get information back, how are you guys doing? Like how lacrosse, how did you do this? Wires got crossed in there. So we can't hire CMAR right now legally. We want to hire a CM to do a facility study, or we want to hire an architect to put together a project for us. It's really, it doesn't make sense because it's the same group of people basically doing the exact same thing. But terminology wise, it can't be done the way that we talked about last month by statute. If we were the county, we could do that. If we were the city, we could do that. Because we're the school district, by statute, we can't.
Recommendation would be to put out or hire a CM.
Mhm.
And there-
I guess my only issue with that, I would rather talk to other schools and see which ones that they had the best luck with.
And I can give you that.
And because I don't consider myself to be a builder at all.
So what I would do, and that's kind of where I got my list of contacts to send the RFP for the CMAR from, was feedback from superintendents. And through that feedback, I got a list of 5 or 6 different groups that have done work for school districts. So whether it's an architect or a CM, what I would do is I would gather information, put it in front of the subcommittee to make a decision, but then also provide you with feedback from other school districts as far as, Ween's group out of Hutch is who's doing lacrosses. They've done a lot of work in Jetmore. They did Little River's work, and they've done work in Dighton. So got great feedback from all those school districts. Hutton is a much larger company that has done a lot of work for school districts that comes very well regarded. The person that we'd be working with is married to a Walker from Ness City. So there's some ties like that, and I would try to get all that information to you guys so that you're aware of. Here's some people that area school districts similar to us have worked with that speak very highly. Here's some that they've turned in their stuff, but here's a complaint about them, or here's good stuff about them, or here's some ties to our local community as far as working with someone that doesn't want to get caught in town after dark after they make a mess of the school, because they're going to have to be here, if that makes sense. I mean, I joke with that, but my goal would be to provide that subcommittee with all that information as possible so that you can listen to their song and dance, but then also get feedback from what area school districts similar to us have encountered with those people.
So you're looking for a motion to go with a construction management company or an architect?
Yes.
I'd make a motion to go with the construction management company.
Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Tom, any other discussion? All those in favor? How did my name get on that committee? Was I awake at the time?
Probably not.
Oh,
So
wow.
It
the
is
other thing that we need
9:45.
to do then is we need to rescind the RFP for CMAR.
Okay.
And then the plan then is to keep that committee in place to bring the recommendation.
So I have a chance to get out of it.
So we do need a motion to
I would-
rescind the CMAR.
I would motion to rescind the CMAR and keep the committee as elected for the CM.
Second.
What did I say? All in favor? Letters. Anything else before we move on?
Oh, I think that's the next step.
Good.
Until we have dollars, there's not a whole lot more we can do.
All right, on new business, approving appointment updates, 9/11 special ed representative alternative. I would entertain a representative and alternative. Bail me out.
I would be
Well, It's
interested.
not bailing you out.
Really?
Unless you want to change them. These are appointments that Jason had that
Yes.
we need to replace. So Jason it was Russell King and Tom
Well,
Swisher
I'm
as
trying
first
to expand
alternative,
on it.
followed
Can I
by
expand
Jason.
on it?
If you guys want to.
Oh, please.
You're the president. You can.
I hope so.
So if Shelby wants to be primary and you be the second alternate, you can do that if you wish.
Who's the first? Oh,
He's the first, you're the second,
okay.
and
I make a
Jason was the
motion that-
third.
I make a motion for Shelby and Russell as the second alternate.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. All those in favor? Very good. We have a spokesperson for the board and district.
Make a motion for Russell.
Second,
That person.
All those in favor? What am I doing here? What is this? We have a vote district civil rights 504 officer that Jason held.
Make a motion for Russell again.
second,
Railroad. Let's go on to 914 school auditor for Adams, Brown, Barron, and Ball.
I would say,
Previously have a different one. Von
Is that because
Felt
they
That
was
was
changed
Von-
changed.
I remember Von Felt got bought out by Adams,
Oh.
Brown, Barron and Ball. So you're gonna be working with the
Same people, but a new company.
I would so move.
Is there a second from Judy? Everybody in favor? Hearing officer for the district and student matters.
So we have two. Currently, Jason is one, and then Jason Ratliff came off, so we need a second for,
I would volunteer to do that.
was
unless
gonna
anybody
say, I
opposes
make a
that.
motion for Lori.
I would second it.
Motion second for Lori, all in favor, show of hands. Bank account signature.
Doesn't that have to be, I make a motion for Russell again.
Second,
Motion is second, all those in favor. I hope you kept up on that, 'cause I'm kind of still stinging.
Give me a lot of Dr.
Still stinging. 9.2, approve the meeting dates for board meetings. Essentially the same, Monday, 7 o'clock of the second week. The dates are listed at the bottom of that.
Make a motion, we accept the meeting dates for this next year.
Have a
What is it, 24? 24.
motion. Motion second from Shelby. All those in favor? First review of policies.
so you've got them in there, a couple of things. So both EBBD, the evacuations and emergency policy that they're recommendation, and the JBH, release of a student during the school day. I would recommend keeping our current policy over those two specifically, and I would encourage all of you to read that. But the way I read it, it gives us permission to keep kids and not allow parents to take them. And I do not like that. That's the way I read that policy, and I think it puts us in a heck of a mess. Now, I understand why. In the event of a disaster or an emergency, we're trying to keep the kids safe. But quite frankly, we've got procedures in place that if a parent comes to the school, if they follow that procedure, I'm turning their kids over. But the way I read this policy is, sorry, mom and dad, you can't have that kid until this emergency is over, and I do not want to do that. So I would recommend not approving EBBD and JBH. EE,
These policies, the way they're written, come from the state.
yeah, they come from KSAB. And a lot of it's due to changes in rules and statutes and government, federal and state, and those type of things. But sometimes we run into something like this where it just really, I understand what they're doing, but I don't like the way it's worded. But EE, I recommend those changes. GARIA is required by law. You really need to approve that. GARID is required by law. And then the last two, JDDAA and JGFGBA, are both dealing with medication and those type of things. We updated both of those policies based on recommendations from Mrs. Gantz last year. And I would recommend that we keep the policies we currently have over the changes that KSAB is recommending.
When will we approve this eventually?
Next month,
Next month.
unless you choose to just do it now, but you technically would, you hear it, get to look at it throughout the next 30 days, now 2 weeks, and
Okay.
then approve it at the next meeting.
Any questions? Now 9.4 superintendent contract extension.
I'd like to have an executive session with the superintendent and the board for 5 minutes.
Fine, you can do it in time. I'm so excited for it. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
And you want me?
Please.
You might be home before 8:30 tonight.
I don't want to jinx it, but that's what I'm thinking of, like. This 4 items.
You guys will be home much earlier, but it'll take me, but
Yeah, this 4 items should go pretty quick. Jinx it, I already just said that.
cover the game going.
Well, I'm just actually getting ready to text Dawn. The boys game just basically started as I walked over, or drove over here, I should say. So, I mean, we played partial B team games. I didn't have the numbers, so we didn't play a full. We played 3/4 of the girls B team game and only 2/4 of the boys. So, so I got the 18 girls game going faster and quicker. So hopefully, I'm actually hoping she's very effective that we're done and on our way home or something. And Mark will have everything locked up. I don't want to do anything till I go home.
There you go.
Scarlet Bull team won the Quinter meet today. Good deal.
There's no reason to sit down.
Are you-
You tell the time.
I- what
I
is
moved
it?
to extend it for 10 minutes.
Second,
Where'd you go? Missed it, Tom?
Jinxed it.
What's training on the theme song? Do they really have to do much? That's comfort. I just want to give you a warning. You ever use a word like pedagogy again, we're kicking out. I had enough of that stuff.
Big $5 words.
Big $5.
Make a motion to approve the superintendent's contract 25-26.
Second it.
Motion second, all those in favor? All those opposed? And abstain,
Abstained.
and abstention. Very good. 9.5, Mara Hamel.
So we need to pay for half of her plan time. And a lot of this comes from our 6th grade class. She's doing some things to help ease some things for Emily. And to do that, she's using up half of her plan time, so we need to pay her for that.
And she's our art teacher, right?
Yeah. So-
And what's she doing to help with 6th grade?
So she has split the 6th grade in half, so she's teaching 2 6th grade art classes. What that's allowing Emily to do is better meet needs of kids and during that time, but then she's also helping covering some time supervising those kids, like when we do our PLCs and those type of things.
And it's taking up half her plan. There be a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, all those in favor? Cindy Hawkinson for food service. Their motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, all those in favor? Donation from Kathy Peters Silly of $100 in general to the school. Is there a motion to approve?
So
Accept.
move.
And second from Shelby, all those in favor? Is there any other thing?
I'd like to have another executive session for 10 minutes on student matters.
On a student matter for 10 minutes.
Please.
Tom,
Second.
second from Judy. All
With
those
the-
in favor?
Administration, please. Yeah, you got lots of time, Russell.
No, I can't.
Hey, making exercise.
Guys are ruining it.
Five or 10?
Pick one.
10. I'd make a rush to go back in this 10 minutes.
Second.
Second.
Second,
It's only 8:28.
we got all night.
We go. We're still gonna be out there.
No, I can try to think of something.
I'm having time on my line.
Are you done?
I don't know.
Are we going back in? Was that enough?
The side, whatever on the side, I don't know.
Any more business? I would move to adjourn.
Second,
All those in favor?
Eric, building on our conversation earlier, because nobody was here.
it was still.
Yeah,